the night! The spirits first called his name. The moon was red. It hung low, above the wide savanna, glowing like a watchful eye. The wind moved slowly through the tall grass, making a soft hissing sound. Far away, hyenas laughed in the darkness. Crickets sang. The river whispered as it touched the stones. In the small village of Kitala, people were already asleep. Round mud huts stood in a circle around the great baobab tree. The cooking fires had died down. Only thin lines of smoke rose into the cool night air. Inside the huts, mothers held their babies close. Warriors rested their spears near the doors. The elders slept on woven mats, dreaming of old times. But one boy was awake. His name was Jabari. He was 12 seasons old, thin and quiet. The other boys of the village liked to wrestle and run across the dusty fields. Jabari liked to sit alone near the river and listen to the wind. The elders said he was different. Some said he had the eyes of an old soul. That night, Jabari sat outside his mother's hut. The red moonlight touched his face. His heart felt restless. He did not know why. Then he heard it, a whisper, very soft. Jabari. He froze. The wind had stopped. The crickets had gone silent. He looked around. The village was still. No one was outside. Again the voice came, carried by the air, like smoke. Jabari, come! His chest tightened. It was not a human voice. It was deep and distant, like drums beating far inside the earth. He stood slowly. His mother turned in her sleep but did not wake. The voice drifted again, this time from beyond the village, toward the dark forest that stood at the edge of the land. That forest was old, older than the oldest elder. The hunters said spirits lived there. The king himself had once warned the children never to enter it at night. Jabari swallowed. His feet moved before his mind could stop them. Step by step, he walked past the huts. The dust felt cold under his bare feet. He passed the baobab tree. Its thick branches stretched across the sky like giant arms. An owl watched him from above. Jabari. The whisper was clearer now. It was calling him as he reached the edge of the village. A sudden wind rose. It circled him like invisible hands. The tall grass bent low, as if bowing to something unseen. His heart beat fast, but he did not turn back. The forest stood before him like a dark wall. Thick trees twisted together. Vines hung like snakes. The air inside looked heavier, darker. No firelight reached there. He remembered the stories told by Elder Mosi during long evenings by the fire. Long ago, the elder would say, his voice slow and deep, our ancestors walked with spirits. The spirits guided the kings. They warned the hunters. But when the people grew proud, the spirits became silent. Jabari had always listened closely to those stories. Now, as he stepped into the forest, he wondered if the silence had ended. Inside, the air was cool and wet. The smell of earth filled his nose. Leaves crunched softly under his feet. Strange insects clicked in the shadows. Then the drums began. Boom! Soft at first. Slow. Boom! Boom! They did not sound like village drums. These drums were deeper, like thunder rolling under the ground. The boy's breath shook. Who are you? He whispered into the darkness. The drums stopped. A light appeared between the trees. Not fire. Not a torch. It was a pale blue glow floating above the ground. Jabari's eyes widened. From within the light, shapes began to form. Tall shadows, moving but not walking. Their bodies looked like mist mixed with smoke. Their eyes shone like stars. Ancient, powerful. Watching him, he could not move. One of the shapes stepped forward. Its voice was the same whisper, but now stronger, like wind before a storm. Child of Kitala, you hear us? Jabari's throat felt dry. Yes! Few can hear. Fewer still will answer. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The spirit raised one long, glowing arm. Images flashed in the air around them, quick and bright like lightning. Jabari saw the village. He saw the river turning dark. He saw warriors falling. He saw fire rising into the sky. His heart pounded. What is this? A warning, the spirit said. The blue light flickered. Great danger comes. Your people do not see it. The king does not hear. The elders do not listen. Jabari felt fear grow inside him like a cold stone. Why me? He asked. The spirits moved closer. The air grew heavy. The wind circled again. Because you listen to the wind, the voice answered. Because your heart is quiet. A loud crack broke through the forest. A branch snapped somewhere behind him. Jabari turned quickly. The blue light dimmed. The spirits' forms began to fade. Wait, he cried. What must I do? Their final words echoed through the trees. When the red moon rises again, choose courage over fear. Then they were gone. The forest fell into deep silence. No drums, no light, only darkness. Jabari stood alone, shaking. Behind him, he heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Not spirits. Human. He slowly turned. At the edge of the trees stood a tall figure, holding a spear. It was not one of the hunters. It was someone wearing the markings of the royal guard. The guard's eyes were hard. Boy, the man said coldly, why are you in the forbidden forest? Jabari's mouth went dry. The red moon shone through the trees, lighting both their faces. And in that moment, Jabari understood something terrible. The danger the spirits showed him had already begun. Thank you so much for joining me for this part of Jabari's journey. What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to find out what the spirit's warning truly means, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. See you in the next story! Jabari's heart thumped in his chest like a drum in the night. The royal guard stood motionless, his spear glinting under the pale red moon. The boy's mind raced. Should he speak? Should he run? The wind whispered through the forest leaves, carrying the faint scent of smoke from the village fires. Something deep inside him urged caution, and yet he could not stop thinking about the spirits. Boy, the guard said, voice sharp like a hawk's cry, you have broken the law. No one enters the forest at night. No one listens to whispers. He did not finish. His gaze was cold, suspicious, as if the words themselves were dangerous. Jabari swallowed. I heard them. The spirits. The god's eyes narrowed. Spirits! Children tell such tales to scare themselves. Speak truth, or you face punishment. I'm telling the truth. Jabari's voice trembled, but it carried urgency. They warned me. There's danger coming to the village. Fire, blood, the river turning black. For a moment, the guard did not respond. Then he raised his spear higher. You speak of dreams. Leave this place before the elders hear. You will bring shame to your family. But Jabari could not move. The forest seemed to hum around him, urging him forward. His ears caught the soft sound of drums again far, faint but urgent. Not the same drums as before. These were closer, almost at the edge of the village. Stop listening to lies, the guard said, stepping closer. Go back to your hut, boy. Forget these stories. The red moon is nothing but a trick of the eye. Jabari looked at the shadowy trees behind him. The blue glow of the spirits had vanished, but the feeling remained. A heavy weight pressed on his chest, warning him of something worse than punishment, something no human spear could fight. I can't, Jabari whispered. If I don't tell someone, the village everyone will be in danger. The guard's hand tightened around the spear. For a moment, the boy thought the man might strike him. Then, slowly, the guard's posture changed. His eyes flicked toward the distant horizon, where the first signs of the river shimmered under the red moonlight. The river, the guard muttered. It looks strange tonight. Jabari's eyes widened. He had noticed it too. The river, normally a gentle silver ribbon in the moonlight, now swirled like black oil. reflecting jagged shadows that were not its own. The spirits, Jabari whispered. They were warning me about this. The guard studied him, then gave a slow, almost imperceptible nod. Come, quickly, you must speak to the elders. The king must know if what you say is true, the village is at risk. Together, they ran toward Kita. The forest seemed alive around them. Leaves rustled like whispers, branches bent low as if bowing to some unseen power, and strange animals scurried into the darkness. The drums grew louder. Their rhythm matched the beating of Jabari's heart. Slow, tense, urgent. When they reached the village, the scene was unsettling. Smoke rose from more than one hut. Dogs barked nervously. The warriors, normally stationed at the perimeter, ran to check the fires. Villagers had awakened, their faces pale in the moonlight. Fear hung thick in the air. King of Labi, the ruler of Kitala, stood near the central bayou. His face was stern, lined with years of wisdom. But tonight, it was clouded with worry. His golden robe shimmered faintly in the firelight. Around him, the elders whispered among themselves, their voices nervous and low. Your Majesty, the guard said, bowing slightly. The boy, he claims he heard the spirits. The king's eyes fell on Jabari. The boy's small frame seemed even smaller under the king's piercing gaze. The spirit, the king asked. Voice come by commanding. Are you saying the ancestors have sent a message? Jabari nodded, his throat tight. Yes, Your Majesty. They said the river would turn black, and fire and danger will come to the village. They warned me to be brave, to act. An elder stepped forward. His voice was shaky but grave. King, the boy speaks with the wind. Perhaps we should listen. The red moon rises only once a year, and it is an omen in our old tales. Another elder, a woman with long silver hair, shook her head. Omens are stories. No one has seen spirits in generations. Children speak of dreams to frighten themselves. Jabari's hands trembled. It is not a dream. I saw them, the spirits. They were glowing. They showed me images. The river, the village, fire. King Afalabi studied the boy carefully. He was not quick to act on fear. He had seen too much, ruled too long. But there was something in Jabari's eyes, a truth that could not be faked. Something ancient. Guard, the king said. Bring me the hunters, all who are skilled in the ways of forest and river. The guard nodded and ran to summon the warriors. Jabari turned his gaze toward the Black River. The drums in the distance pulsed again, louder. Now, fear and excitement ran together inside him. He knew this was only the beginning. The spirits had spoken, but they had not told him everything. And then he saw it. A shadow moving across the river. Not a boat, not a human. Something large, duck, gliding just above the water. The river's surface rippled unnaturally. The smell of smoke grew stronger. The villagers noticed it too. Murmurs spread. Children clutched their mother's hands. Dogs howled. King Afalabi stepped closer to the river's edge. His face was grim. This is no ordinary night. You were right, boy, he said, looking at Jabari. The spirits have chosen to warn us, and if we fail to listen, all of Katala may be lost. The wind carried the whispers again. Jabari strained to hear. Prepare. Choose. Courage. It was the same voice, the same haunting tone. Jabari clenched his fists. He had heard the warning. And now, he would have to find the courage to act. The village shivered under the red moonlight, the drums of the unseen spirits echoing in the distance. Danger was near. The night had just begun. To be continued. Jabari could barely breathe. The red moon casts a strange, bloody glow over the village. The river, usually calm and silver under the night sky, now writhed like living shadow. Ripples twisted unnaturally, reflecting jagged flashes of light. that seemed almost like eyes. The hunters returned with the royal guard, their spears and bows ready, faces tense. King Afalabi stood at the riverbank, studying the dark water. His golden robe shimmered faintly, like it carried its own light. "Bring the boy closer," the king commanded. Jabari stepped forward, his bare feet sinking into the cold mud. The elders watched silently, unsure whether the child's warning was truth or madness. But the river itself seemed to confirm Jabari's story. "The river is not natural tonight," said Elder Mosi, the oldest of the elders. His voice was raspy with age, yet carried weight. "It carries the signs of the unseen. The spirits, they are angry." Jabari shivered. They showed me the river turning black. They said the village is in danger. I think something is in the river." The king narrowed his eyes. "Something in the river. Speak plainly. Boy, what did you see?" Jabari hesitated. The images of the glowing spirits flashed in his mind. Shapes that moved like smoke, eyes that shone like stars, and visions of fire and falling warriors. He saw the river darkening, strange shadows gliding beneath the surface. He swallowed hard. "I saw a spirit in the river," he said finally. "A being, ancient, powerful. It moves beneath the water. It wants to cross to the village. If it does, people will suffer." A hush fell over the villagers. Only the sound of the river and the distant drums broke the silence. The hunters exchanged uneasy glances. Even the royal guard looked nervous. "Are you saying the river spirit is coming?" one hunter asked. His voice shook. "But that is only a story. Only old tales." Elder Mosi raised his hand. "No, it is real. I have heard it in my dreams. And now, the signs are here. The boy has seen what we feared for generations. The spirit of the Black River awakens only when the red moon rises. Many have ignored the warning. Few survived to tell it." The villagers murmured among themselves. Children clung to their mothers. Smoke from the cooking fires drifted into the night air, smelling strangely of burning leaves, though nothing was on fire yet. King Afolabi's face was stern. "If this spirit crosses into our village, it will not be enough to fight with spears or swords. We need a plan and a guide. Boy, you must lead us. You have heard the spirits. You have seen what others cannot." Jabari's legs shook. Fear and excitement swirled together in his chest. Could he really do this? Could a boy, 12 guide, warriors, and elders against an ancient, powerful being? Before he could answer, a soft light appeared above the river. Not fire, not torch. It glowed like moonlight trapped in mist, pale and ethereal. The villagers gasped. The hunters raised their spears. Even the king stepped back from the light. A figure rose, a shadowy form, taller than any man, with flowing robes of water and eyes that glimmered like deep pools of black. Its voice echoed in the minds of all who watched, a low, rolling hum like distant thunder. "Children of Ki, you dare wake me!" Jabari's heart froze. This was what the spirits had warned him about. The being was not evil, but its power was older than the village, older than the kings, older than the baobab trees themselves. It carried the weight of centuries. The boy took a step forward. "Spirit," he called, voice small but steady. "Please leave the village in peace. We do not wish to harm you. The elders, the king, we will respect your presence if you do not hurt us." The spirit paused, its eyes, deep and endless, focused on Jabari. "You are brave, child. Few have the courage to speak, while others cower." Jabari felt a strange warmth in his chest. The spirit's voice was terrifying, yet it carried a hint of sadness. "Why do you rise tonight?" he asked. "What do you want?" The shadow lifted one watery hand. Images swirled in the air, like mist. Jabari saw the village surrounded by fire. He saw warriors falling. He saw rivers boiling and animals flee. And then he saw the red moon, bright and low, casting long shadows over everything. The people have forgotten the old ways, the spirit said. They have forgotten respect. They have forgotten courage. I come to test them, to see if the children of the living can remember the ways of the ancestors. Jabari felt the weight of responsibility press on him. The villagers stared at him, waiting for guidance. Their fear was palpable, but so was their trust. You? You want a test? Jabari asked, voice trembling. How can we pass it? The spirit's eyes seemed to pierce into his very soul. Courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Only through these will you survive. Only through these will the village endure. Choose wisely, child of Kitala. Then the light flickered, and the spirit sank back into the river. The water's surface stilled, though faint ripples lingered, whispering of power unseen. The drums in the distance slowed, like a heartbeat calming after a storm. King Afalabi stepped closer to Jabari. Boy, he said quietly, you have seen what most adults cannot. You have the guidance of the spirits. Tomorrow, we must decide how to face this threat, and you will lead the hunters and elders to uncover the truth beneath the river. Jabari nodded, trying to steady his shaking hands. His body was tired, but his mind burned with urgency. The spirits had revealed their secret, but it was only the beginning. The river's shadow hid more than he could imagine, and the red moon promised that the real test was still to come. As the villagers returned to their huts, uneasy but trusting, Jabari stayed by the riverbank. The water shimmered faintly in the moonlight, as if it carried a memory of the spirit's gaze. The wind whispered through the reeds, softly carrying the words that would guide him. Courage, wisdom, sacrifice. And Jabari understood. He had to prepare, not just to protect his village, but to face the ancient spirit itself. The night was far from over. Dawn itself. The forest trembled as Jabari stood at the edge of the swirling black river. The spirit's massive form glimmered in the moonlight, shifting like water and smoke. Its eyes, endless pools of darkness, focused on him, burning with ancient power. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the scent of wet earth and something older than memory. Jabari's hands shook, but he held them out, gripping the smooth stone he had taken from the riverbank. The whispers of the spirits echoed in his mind. Courage, wisdom, sacrifice. Around him, the villagers and hunters waited. Fear was written on every face. Some clutched their children. Others tightened their grip on spears and bows. Even King Afalabi, steady as always, looked tense, knowing the power they faced was far beyond human strength. Step forward, child of Katala. The spirit's voice rolled like thunder. Prove your courage. Face what you fear, or all will be lost. Jabari's heart pounded. The visions he had? Seen the fire, the falling warriors, the black river threatening. The village flashed in his mind. He stepped closer to the river, the dark water swirling around his feet, cold and alive. One of the hunters shouted, Boy, step back! It will drown you. But Jabari did not move. He looked into the spirit's eyes. I am not afraid, he whispered. I will do whatever it takes to protect my village. The spirit shifted, and suddenly the water erupted like a boiling storm. Waves towered over the villagers. Trees bent under the force of the wind. A hunter screamed as a wave knocked him off his feet. The villagers scattered, trying to avoid the rushing water, but Jabari stood firm, stone in hand. The spirit's voice rumbled. Few can face me with pure courage. Few understand the power of sacrifice. Will you offer yourself for the living? Jabari's mind raced. He thought of the people he loved. His mother, the elders, the children of the village. He thought of the hunters who had trained for years to protect Kita. He realized that the spirit did not want to harm Demet, wanted to see if they could rise above fear. If they could act for the greater good. I will, Jabari said, voice steady. I will face the river's test. Spare the village. Let me bear the danger. The water rose higher, swirling faster, until it glowed with an otherworldly light. The spirit's shape towered above him, moving with immense power. Yet Jabari felt a strange calm. His fear remained, but it was joined by a determination stronger than anything he had ever felt. Then he remembered the words of Eldamosi. The spirits respect those who show courage and act with wisdom. They do not destroy. They teach. Jabari closed his eyes and lifted the stone high above his head. He whispered a prayer, calling on the spirits of his ancestors to guide him. The river trembled beneath his feet. The spirits' eyes focused on him, searching his heart. With a deep breath, Jabari threw the stone into the center of the pool. It landed with a splash, sending ripples across the black water. Immediately, the river stilled. The waves shrank. The wind soft. The cold, dark water began to shimmer with a pale light, as if responding to the boy's courage and wisdom. The villagers gasped. Even the hunters lowered their weapons in awe. The spirit's form hovered above the river, immense and glowing softly. "You have faced fear," the spirit said, voice calmer now. "You have shown courage and wisdom. But there is one final lesson. Sacrifice is not always losing one's life. It is choosing what is greater than yourself. Do you understand?" Jabari nodded. "Yes, I see it now. Protecting the village is more important than my fear. More important than my safety. I must act for others, not just myself." The spirit's glow intensified. The water swirled, forming shapes that reflected the village. The river, the trees, and the people who had trusted him. The images shimmered with warmth, not threat. "You have learned," the spirit said. "The village will survive. The river's power is great, but so is the courage of the living. Remember this, child of Kit. You are now a messenger between the living and the unseen." The water calmed completely. The river returned to its silver, gentle self. The blue glow faded. The red moon had set, replaced by the soft light of dawn. Birds cautiously began to sing. The villagers, still trembling, began to gather near Jabari. King Afalabi stepped forward, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You have done what no adult dared. You have faced the ancient power and returned to guide us. Your courage and wisdom have saved Kit." Jabari looked around at the faces of the villagers' relief AW and pride shining in their eyes. For the first time, he felt truly strong. He had listened to the spirits, faced the unknown, and acted for the good of others. The spirit's voice echoed one last time, soft as the wind. "Remember, courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Teach others, and you will honor the living and the unseen." And then it was gone. The river shimmered peacefully in the morning light. The test had ended. Jabari sank to his knees by the water, exhausted but triumphant. He had faced fear itself, stood against the unknown, and chosen the path of courage. The villagers gathered around, their whispers of gratitude mixing with the soft rustle of leaves. In that moment, Jabari understood something deeper. True strength was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. The village of Kitala had survived the night, and a new story had begun, a story of bravery, wisdom, and the quiet power of listening to the whispers of the ancient spirits. But Jabari also knew that this was only the beginning. Life would continue, the spirits would watch, and the lessons of courage and sacrifice would never be forgotten. The morning after the trial, Kitala looked almost unchanged, yet everything felt different. The sun rose over the savannah, spilling golden light across the mud huts, the baobab tree, and the shimmering river. Birds sang cautiously, as if sensing the village's narrow escape from disaster. Jabari sat on a low rock near the riverbank. The Black River had returned to its normal silver flow, gentle and calm. He ran his fingers through the cool water, thinking about the spirit's words. Courage, wisdom, sacrifice, they echoed in his mind, carrying weight now that the danger had passed. King Afalabi approached, his robe catching the sunlight. He had a thoughtful expression. "Jabari," he said softly, "today you have done more than any hunter or warrior. You listened when others doubted. You faced what was terrifying and guided us through it. Your courage has saved Katala. Jabari looked down, shy and unsure. I just listened, he whispered. The spirits, they guided me. The king smiled faintly. True courage, boy, is not in strength alone. It is in listening, learning, and choosing to act for the good of all. You have done that. The village will remember. The villagers slowly gathered by the river, carrying water buckets and tending to the small huts damaged by the waves and fire. Mothers held their children close, eyes wide with relief and awe. Hunters exchanged stories, whispering about the boy who had spoken to the spirits. Even the elders, who had doubted him at first, bowed their heads in respect. Elder Mosi approached, leaning on his walking stick. His eyes twinkled with wisdom. Jabari, he said, voice trembling with age, the spirits have chosen few in their time. You have listened when others turned away. You have faced fear, and you have learned what it means to protect the living. That is the greatest lesson of all. Jabari nodded, feeling the truth of the elder's words. He had been afraid, trembling before the Black River and the massive shadow of the spirit. Yet, he had acted. He had sacrificed his comfort, his safety, and his fear for the good of others. He had learned the meaning of true courage. The village children gathered near him, their eyes wide. Tell us the story, Jabari. One called, Tell us what the spirit said. Jabari smiled faintly, the memory of the blue glow and the massive shadow vivid in his mind. He began to speak, telling them about the red moon, the whispers, and the river spirit. He spoke of the visions, the danger, and the lesson of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. The children listened, enraptured, some shivering at the thought of the Black River and the spirits, yet inspired by the boy who had faced them. The hunters and warriors nodded quietly as they listened. They had learned something too, not just about the spirits, but about the courage that could come from the heart of a child. Kinga Folabi raised his hand to quiet the gathering. Let this day be remembered, he said, voice strong. Not because of fear or danger, but because of the wisdom we have gained. The spirits have tested us, and through their guidance, we have seen the power of courage, the need for wisdom, and the importance of sacrifice. The villagers cheered softly, their voices carrying across the savannah. The wind rustled through the tall grass, seeming to join in the celebration, carrying whispers of the ancestors who had watched over Jabari and the village. That evening, as the sun set, Jabari returned to the river. The water glimmered, reflecting the gold and orange of the sky. He knelt and whispered a quiet thank you to the spirits, feeling their presence in the soft rustle of leaves, in the cool breeze on his face, and in the gentle ripple of the river. You have taught me, he whispered, and I will teach others. I will remember the lesson of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. The wind seemed to answer, soft and warm. Remember, always remember. Later, as the villagers gathered around the fire, Jabari sat with Elder Mosi. The elder handed him a small, carved wooden figure, a gift, and a reminder. This, Elder Mosi said, is a symbol of the spirit's watchfulness. Let it remind you of what you have learned tonight and what you will teach the generations to come. Jabari took the figure carefully, feeling its weight in his hands. He realized that the spirit's lesson was not only for him, it was for everyone. Bravery was not just about fighting or running toward. Danger it was about listening, understanding, and putting others above yourself. The villagers sang softly around the fire, drums beating a steady, calm rhythm. The night was peaceful, no shadows twisting in the river, no whispers of danger in the wind. Yet everyone knew the spirits were still watching, their presence silent but strong, guiding and protecting those who listened with their hearts. Jabari looked at the stars above, blinking in wonder. For the first time, he felt grown up in years, but in courage. He had faced what no adults dared, had spoken with beings older than the mountains, and had returned to guide his people. And so, the village of Kitala thrived, carrying the story of the boy who heard the ancient African spirits at night. The tale would be told for generations of fear, faced of courage chosen, and of a child who reminded the people that listening to the unseen and acting with heart could save not only a village, but the spirit of a people. Jabari looked once more at the river. The water shimmered silver in the moonlight, calm and endless. He smiled softly. The spirits had spoken. He had listened, and the village would remember. The whispers of the ancestors faded into the night, leaving peace, hope, and a lesson that would endure through all time.